Wow. Kendall. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you clicked on this video, I'm assuming it's because you want to know what I read in the month of April, or because you just enjoy watching my videos. Either works. April is officially over now. We are in the month of May and I can tell that it's spring outside. I'm so excited. Now that I'm in a place where I genuinely think you get to experience each season, I really enjoy spring. So like I said at the start, we are going to be talking about everything that I read in the month of April. I read a total of 6 books. You know, I've been telling you guys for a while that like reading less in terms of how many books I complete per month has allowed me to just really read the books that I do pick up in depth and like look for certain things and connections. So I was kind of playing 6 degrees of separation with each of my reads. At least I was in my head. If I can remember those as I'm going along, I'll share them as well. But as I was reading, I was like, each book is connected in its own fun little way. But let's get into the wrap up. Every time that I talk about this book, I'm always looking to grab An American Marriage. So I should just do that for myself right now. This is usually the time of the year, or I can't even say usually. I think I've read this book twice, and this is around the time that it feels like I read it. And I read it for the first time in May, like when the semester was ending and I was packing up to move out. And it's a similar time to that going on right now, like graduations and things. So the first time I read this was like 4 years ago, I think. But she is the author of Kin, the book that I read this month or last month in April. And I did finish the last 30 minutes of this with you guys, so there is a video with my like reactions and that type of thing. I gave this book an official 5-star rating, a realistic like 4.8 type of rating, because I didn't really enjoy the ending per se. But it's about 2 motherless daughters, or 2 motherless women, and Vernice, her mom passed away when she was young, but Annie's mom is like still alive and still out there. So it's their journey and their progression as 2 people that are longing for a maternal relationship and don't have it, and 2 people that are grieving in different ways, and one in a way that feels finite and indefinite, you know, with no possibility of meeting her, and then the other in a way that's like, she's out there, I want to find my mother. Now, I said this before, but I don't think it's as emotional as An American Marriage. This book had me sobbing. I didn't necessarily cry during Kin. It was still really sad. It was still very emotional for sure, but like something about these three over here, it's crazy. Yeah, this was the February 2018 book of the month. I don't know if I read it in 2018, but it's been a minute. Maybe it's time for a reread. And then y'all know any book that talks about Arkansas and then Little Rock, they got an A+ in my book. Okay, so I said 6 degrees separation. Yeah, cool. But some of them were small. But I do remember reading all 3 of these. And by all 3 of these, I am meaning my friends Kin and The Fury in April, obviously around Easter. And all 3 of them mention Easter. So that's the connection between those 3. But then after I finished Kin, I did reread The Fury by Michaelides. And initially when I read this book a couple years ago, I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. And I placed it as like underneath The Silent Patient and above The Maidens. But now I'm really unsure about that. It's hard to explain what this book is other than like a dramatization, but it's a thriller, sort of. It's a keep you on your toes, or it's a page turner. There you go. It's a page turner. What I really like about this book is the unreliable narrator, and I just love an unreliable narrator in general. So anytime I'm questioning like the authority of who's telling the story, and that's built into the novel, I'm usually going to appreciate the book. So that's why I'm trying not to like spoil it too much for you, but you know off rip that Elliot is unreliable. And then there's a murder on this island. Lana is a famous actress, and every year around Easter, like, she invites her friends to this island that she owns. and we know from the beginning that there's a murder on the island, and Elliot tells us basically, sit down, I'm going to tell you the story of the murder. And Elliot is involved because he's Lana's friend, so that makes you question, how much are you truly involved? And then there'll be times during the book too where he reminds you like, hey, I could be biased here. So I think there's that fun aspect to it, and why I initially gave it the 5-star rating that I did. But after rereading, I wasn't as invested as I was the first time. And I think rereadability is such a big key point when it comes to a book. You have to be able to be reread multiple times if you're going to be a 5-star read. If you're going to be a 5-star read, I need to be able to read you whenever I want to and find something new and different each time. There were definitely things that I did maybe pick up on that I might have missed, or new connections, whatever. But overall, not enough to keep you in like 5-star S tier. So then moving on to My Friends by Fredrik Backman, which I did read, I did finish, and I have talked about, because I knew that people were saying this is an amazing book, this is an amazing author. I hear about Beartown all the time, but I personally read A Man Called Ube or Ove, I don't know which pronunciation it is, but I read that and I didn't really vibe with it. So that was my impression of the author. As you can see on the cover, it's like some kids swimming in the ocean, cute, whatever. But I didn't realize how connected that was going to be to the story, because I really pick and choose when I want to be informed about a book. So I went into this knowing absolutely nothing. And we start with Louisa, who I thought was going to be the main character. And essentially she is, but I wasn't really following how the friendships and the artwork and the storytelling was going to play. But once I gave it a little bit more time, everything sort of wrapped up very nicely and very beautifully. And it felt like a very nice representation of a genuine full circle moment, but the things that take place to even get people to those positions to be able to give back but also lose at the same time. So it was a nice perspective on friendships and hardships and just genuine relationships with people and choosing to be there for people. So I did enjoy it. I gave it 5 stars. And I know that I was just talking about like books staying 5 stars. I would be interested to read this again at a later date, you know, knowing what I know now of the ending and seeing if that holds up. But so far, I think it does. Then we got into How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shaliee Thompson. And as you can probably tell from the title, this is a play on a rom-com, but also a slasher. So our main character, and I genuinely don't remember her name. And that's important that I don't remember her name, because it's going to come up later in my review. But I'm going to find out her name for you guys. Her name is Janie. Okay, so Janie is a PhD student and she studies film and really gets in depth about the differences and similarities between slashers and horror films. No, that's the same thing. Between slashers and romantic comedies. So at the start of the book, she takes her friend to this little speed dating event. And as they are doing the dating, the light shuts off, boom, somebody's getting stabbed. And then we are in the middle of a slasher. But Janie knows, you know, how these things play out. She knows the formula. She knows about a fake reveal, about the killer, you know, doing the Cupid shuffle down the hallway, whatever the case may be. She knows these things. So with the other people, we find out motives. It's also convenient. Well, I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. Hold on. No, so Jamie, wait, is her name Jamie or Janie? Her name is Jamie. Yikes. Okay, so Jamie finds herself being the final girl in the situation, being the girl that is the target of this killer's obsession. And again, we're along for the ride and figuring out what happens and why and his motives. So I did give this book a 3.5 star rating, rounded up to a 4. The premise is really fun. With each of the chapters, it started with like a quote not from a rom-com, so she put like a murder spin on it. I like books that are gimmicky. I like books that are fun, and this was a fun read. I also had the audiobook, and there were some production elements that weren't full cast, but they were still fun and I could appreciate them. So that was nice too. And yeah, I just appreciate like a new take, a new perspective. And even though elements weren't perfect, and by that, I just mean I have no memory or like remembrance of the characters. And I really would have hoped to be able to attach more, like connect more to her because she was a student. And like, yeah, I felt like that was cool, obviously at the beginning, but I can't even remember the main character's name half the time. And that is problematic, I feel like, for a book. So that's why it's sitting pretty solid in its 3.5 to me, but Goodreads doesn't do half stars, but it's sitting pretty solid in that 3.5 because it's like things that I liked, but also things that I didn't necessarily not like, I just don't remember. And to be above a 3, you gotta be memorable at least. Okay, so finishing us up with my final 2 books, I read One and Only by Maureen Goo, and fun fact, May is AAPI Recognition Month, so if you don't know where to start, here you go. Here's a freebie recommendation. This book is about almost 40-year-old Cassia, and she is a face reader. Her family, they have generations of the ability to read faces. The women in the line have the ability to read faces and see your past lives and your past love. So Cassia knows that Daniel Nam is her chosen person. Another thing though about Cassia is she lost her mom when she was really young. Oh, that's also how these books were connected again, going back to Ken and like losing a mom, but she lost her mom. And we talk about grief of a parent in this book in a really different way than it was discussed in Ken. She's turning 40 soon, and she's realizing that like she's lived longer than her mother did. She wants to be able to have kids. She wants to get serious with someone so that she can progress into the next stage of her life. And she's riding her bike one day. She has this like bike accident and she meets Ellis. Ellis is 28. He's cute. He's fine shit. She likes him. They go hook up. Okay. But then after that, she's like, I'm 40, you're 28. That was just fun. This is never going to work. He's like, okay, cool. You know, I guess I got to respect that. They go their separate ways. But then they like bump into each other again. And she meets Ellis's boss, who happens to be the one and only Daniel Nam. So the book takes us through her decision tree, if you will, of deciding like, do I want to be with Daniel, who I know, or do I want to be with Ellis, or rather Daniel, who is predictable and chosen for me, and Ellis, who is unpredictable and like go against everything that I think I know. And that also came with a lot of thoughts that she had about her mom and her death and her grief and all of that you get to unravel as the story goes on. So I gave this book 5 stars. I really did enjoy it, and like it tickled something in my hopeless romantic heart. So that's always nice. And finishing us up is Lost Lambs by Madeleine Cash. This is the story of the Flynn family. Let's see if I can do all their names without looking. Catherine, Bud, Avery, Louise, and Harper. I knew I got the A girl wrong. Okay, it's Catherine, Bud, Abigail, Louise, and Harper. So in this story, we get one of those, movie like everybody gets a POV, even the side characters, even the second cousin, everybody gets a POV. And we go back and forth between each of the family members, but also, their secondary characters as well. So let's start with Bud. We meet him as an alcoholic, essentially. And he is finding out that his wife, or at least he thinks his wife, is having an affair and wants to be in an open relationship. I mean, she even pretty much asked to be in an open relationship. So he feels like his marriage is falling apart in that way, and he discovers AA, but he also discovers the woman that runs AA, Mrs. Winkle, and her lost lambs, and they have their own thing going on, okay? Then Catherine, she's the mom that wants to love her daughters but doesn't really know how, or wants to love them and is trying to and is doing in the best way that she knows how, but it's not the best way for the kids. And she does end up having a little crush on the neighbor, but I also can't tell you what goes down with them. And then Abigail is the oldest. I think that she was 17. And she's dating this man named War Crimes West. And he works for the Alabaster family. And they're known to be like really bad, really sleazy. Okay, so that's their thing. We don't know if West is good or bad or trying to save Abigail or not. He's such a morally neutral character. I can't even say morally gray. He's just morally neutral in the story. There is Louisa. She's the middle child. When I read the synopsis at the beginning, I was like, okay, you always gotta be cognizant of the middle child. You know, the middle child stereotypes about them being forgotten because it's easy to forget in the middle. And I clocked that in the beginning, and then I read the book and I forgot about the freaking middle child at like the most crazy time. But her storyline is like, again, you know, not feeling good enough. She has a lisp, and that is just making her feel certain types of ways, being a adolescent, like tween girl kind of. So she's talking to this terrorist online. Can you say that on the internet nowadays? I don't know. She's talking to someone bad online. That's her storyline. And it gets them into some trouble. The youngest, Harper, is super, super smart. And she clocked this tea at the start of the book. She was saying that the Alabaster family must be doing something very sleazy with their business. And because Bud, I know I didn't say this earlier, but Bud works at the like construction management site. So he oversees all of the incoming and outgoing cargo. And Harper, being like smart and being bored and not having anything to do, reads through his email. She read through everything, just making connections. And she was like, hey, there are some crates missing and going out of order. So it being on Bud's mind, well, now I'm telling the plot of the story. Let me go back. But anyway, Harper is super smart, and everyone plays a role in the conclusion and the finale of the story, and you just have to appreciate that. You have to appreciate that. I can't remember my exact rating. Let's go back and see what I gave it. So I ended up giving this another 3.5, rounded up to 4, just because at the end I felt like a lost lamb a bit, because it did feel like we were packing so much into the end, but it played out like a Shonda Rhimes drama in my head. And again, you have to appreciate when things do wrap up, like you can kind of point back to each thread, but I myself was a little lost in the sauce. So there is a possibility, the same way that, you know, I've taken stars away, that if I do reread this in the future, because the rereadability aspect is there, if I do reread this again in the future, that it could potentially go up. So that's everything that I finished in the month of April. I did start Yesteryear and No Matter What, and I am 89% into Yesteryear and like 40% into No Matter What. So that's what I brought into May with me. I am going to have some thoughts about Yesteryear. I don't know when, I don't know how I'm gonna be able, I don't know. It is really thought-provoking. It's like the book that you would give to the girl that is deconstructing religion and patriarchy at the same time. So yeah, I'm gonna have some more thoughts about that for sure. And then No Matter What, I just really wanted a physical copy before I continued on reading. I really wanted her to be able to match her sisters over there, so that's why I put a pause on that. All right, you guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this reading wrap-up video. To keep myself accountable, I'm gonna tell you what I'm filming next, and I think that it's gonna be a May TBR video, just to make sure that I actually have some type of accountability system and film. Lately, I've just life has been life, and the semester finished, and I think I just wanted to rest. And so I'm not going to make myself feel bad for resting, but I do enjoy filming and sharing this. Like every time I do it, I'm like, this is so fun. I want to keep doing it more. So I am going to be filming a May TBR video soon, because I've got some things that I really, really want to read. And maybe even a summer reading list video, because summer is about feel good reads to me, but also finding new Goodreads. So there's a lot of things that I like to reread, a lot of Allie Hazelwood that I like to dip into. And yeah, I'm going to share that with you guys soon too. I hope that you loved the video. You can hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you are not. There are other places that you can find me: my TikTok, Instagram, Goodreads, Storygraph, and Book of the Month link are in the description down below. And until the next video, keep on. Wait, I have one more thing to say. Tell me if you read any of these, if any of these are on your TBR, what you thought about them, what you read in April. Let's get a conversation going, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.